Welcome to our Hong Kong Brief Show. I'm your host Jenny. Today, we're kicking things off with China's bold move to stimulate its economy just ahead of critical U.S. trade talks. The People's Bank of China is slicing interest rates and reserve requirements, injecting about $138.6 billion into the economy, and supporting consumption with a massive 1.3 trillion yuan boost. This is all part of China's game plan to stay resilient amid global uncertainties and trade tensions. Next up, Hong Kong stocks are riding high. They've just marked their fifth straight day of gains, climbing nearly 2%, fueled by optimism about upcoming US-China negotiations and strong capital inflows. The local currency is also strengthening, thanks to the Chinese government's efforts to keep liquidity flowing and stabilize markets. As the world watches, Hong Kong is proving its market resilience and strategic importance in this tense trade environment. Finally, Hong Kong is looking eastward to strengthen ties with the Middle East. A government delegation led by Chief Executive John Lee is headed to the Gulf to connect mainland Chinese businesses with Qatar and Kuwait. By leveraging Hong Kong's expertise in finance, legal, and tech sectors, this initiative aims to diversify trade and investment in non-oil sectors, opening new doors for local companies in the Gulf's growing markets. Please continue to stay tuned for the full details. Nikkei Asia reports that China is proactively implementing a series of monetary easing measures just ahead of critical trade negotiations with the United States. These policies include slashing the reserve requirement ratio by half a percentage point, thereby injecting approximately 1 trillion yuan, $138.6 billion, into the economy, and temporarily reducing the reserve ratio to zero for auto finance and leasing companies. Additionally, the People's Bank of China, PBOC, is lowering its policy interest rate, the 7-day reverse repo rate, by 0.1 percentage points to 1.4%, alongside reductions in mortgage and credit facilitation rates. The central bank is also increasing relending quotas to support consumer subsidies and elderly care, signaling a strategic move to bolster domestic demand amid rising trade tensions and global economic uncertainties. These measures are part of a broader, phased policy effort to stabilize growth, especially as external factors like international fragmentation and trade disputes threaten China's economic momentum, despite the country's first quarter growth hitting 5.4%. The announcement coincides with upcoming trade talks in Switzerland, where Vice Premier He Lifeng is expected to engage with U.S. officials, emphasizing China's cautious yet determined approach to navigating external shocks and maintaining economic resilience. South China Morning Post highlights the optimistic momentum in Hong Kong stock markets as they surge for the fifth consecutive day, driven by anticipation of imminent U.S.-China trade negotiations focused on de-escalation. The Hang Seng Index climbed 1.8% to 23,075.77, with the tech-heavy Hang Seng Tech Index gaining 2.3%, reflecting investor confidence amid capital inflows that have strengthened the local currency. Mainland markets also performed well, with the CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite Index both rising by 0.6%. Notable gains include insurance giant AIA Group, which soared by 8%, and Tencent Holdings, up 2.7%. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority intervened multiple times to defend the city's currency peg, especially ahead of significant IPOs like CATL, the world's leading electric vehicle battery manufacturer. U.S.-China trade talks scheduled in Switzerland, with Vice Premier He Lifeng set to meet U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, have investors optimistic that de-escalation could pave the way for more stable economic relations. Despite mixed regional performances, Japan's Nikkei slipping slightly and South Korea's Kospi edging higher, markets remain focused on the diplomatic developments that could influence global trade and investment flows. South China Morning Post also discusses Hong Kong's strategic potential as a facilitator connecting mainland Chinese firms with Middle Eastern markets, particularly Qatar and Kuwait. As these Gulf nations seek to diversify their economies away from oil reliance, Hong Kong's expertise in professional services, finance, and digital innovation positions it as an ideal bridge. The upcoming delegation led by Chief Executive John Lee Ka-chiu aims to foster deeper economic ties, emphasizing Hong Kong's role in providing legal, financial, and consultancy services that can help Middle Eastern countries access Asian markets and attract Chinese investments. Qatar and Kuwait are actively pursuing ambitious economic diversification plans, with Qatar's non-oil sectors, including finance, manufacturing, and real estate, contributing significantly to its GDP, and Kuwait increasing its focus on private sector-led infrastructure projects. The region's interest in sectors such as AI, smart cities, and sustainable development aligns well with China's technological strengths, including its dominance in AI patents and low-altitude economy management. Experts suggest that collaborations in logistics, digital finance, and international currency use could accelerate regional integration, with Hong Kong serving as a vital nexus for mainland Chinese enterprises aiming to expand globally under the Belt and Road Initiative, especially as geopolitical tensions prompt a re-evaluation of reliance on traditional Western markets. South China Morning Post vividly recounts the incident aboard a Cathay Pacific flight where a careless mistake by a flight attendant led to a 3-year-old boy being served white wine instead of water. The boy's mother, Wang, expressed her deep concern over the potential health implications of her child's accidental alcohol consumption, especially given the neurological and physiological risks associated with alcohol in young children. Despite the airline's quick apology and offers of compensation, Wang criticized the lack of transparency and responsibility taken by Cathay Pacific, emphasizing her frustration over the insufficient explanation and oversight. The airline's internal review confirmed that the crew had acted swiftly to monitor the child's condition and consult medical professionals, but a cabin crew member later attributed the mistake to declining service standards and inadequate training, especially among inexperienced staff. This incident highlights the broader issues of service quality and training deficiencies within the airline, with some crew members pointing to a trend of hurried and insufficiently supervised onboarding processes that compromise passenger safety and professionalism. The South China Morning Post also dives into the chaos caused by Trump's tariffs, illustrating how Hong Kong-based manufacturers like Topform Group are battling a turbulent global trade environment. As U.S. demand surged unexpectedly due to tariff uncertainties, over 3,000 workers in Thailand's Mae Sot factories worked tirelessly to meet urgent orders for bras and underwear destined for American consumers eager to avoid hefty tariffs on Chinese imports. Kenneth Wong, the company's managing director, described the frantic rush to fulfill orders amid rising costs, overtime wages, and disrupted supply chains. The tariffs, which have imposed steep levies on Chinese goods and retaliatory tariffs from China on U.S. exports, have forced Hong Kong manufacturers to rethink their China Plus One strategies, spreading production across Southeast Asia and beyond. Despite these hurdles, companies like Topform remain committed to their diversified manufacturing footprint, although they acknowledge the ongoing uncertainty and the need for longer-term solutions to navigate the volatile trade landscape. The Toronto Star highlights the remarkable rise of snooker in China, culminating in Zhao Xintong's historic victory at the World Snooker Championship. Once regarded as a niche pastime, snooker has blossomed into a major sport in China, thanks in part to trailblazers like Ding Junhui and Nao Zhao, who has become the nation's first world champion. Zhao's journey from Shenzhen to Sheffield, marked by a 20-month ban due to match-fixing allegations, exemplifies resilience and talent. His victory has ignited national pride, inspiring young Chinese players and boosting confidence in the sport's future within China's competitive sports ecosystem. The sport's growth is further supported by government backing and extensive broadcasting, elevating snooker to a prestigious status akin to Olympic sports. Zhao's success signals a new era of Chinese dominance in snooker, with a record number of Chinese players qualifying for the main stages of recent championships, promising a bright future for the sport's development and international recognition in China. The South China Morning Post reports on the ongoing coroner's inquest into the tragic 2012 Lama ferry disaster, which remains Hong Kong's deadliest maritime accident since 1971. The inquest, initiated after a 13-year delay and driven by relatives of the victims, seeks to shed light on unresolved issues surrounding the collision between the Lama 4 and Sea Smooth ferries. Witness testimonies reveal startling gaps in safety protocols, with survivors recounting that they were never briefed on emergency procedures or the location of life-saving equipment before the vessel sank in under 2 minutes. The court's focus includes examining design flaws, such as whether the coaming height was inadequate and if modifications to the Sea Smooth contributed to the tragedy. As the investigation unfolds, authorities are considering arrest warrants to compel additional witnesses, emphasizing the seriousness of uncovering every detail behind the devastating loss of 39 lives, many of whom were celebrating National Day fireworks aboard the ill-fated ferry. The South China Morning Post also highlights AWS' role in revolutionizing retail through artificial intelligence, as showcased at the Retail and Consumer Goods Executive Forum. The event demonstrated how AI and data-driven technologies are transforming customer experiences and operational efficiencies in Hong Kong and beyond. Industry leaders shared innovative solutions like Amazon's Just Walk Out technology, which leverages sensors and computer vision to eliminate queues, and Rufus, an AI shopping assistant trained on extensive product data to deliver personalized recommendations. Retailers are increasingly adopting these tools to meet rising consumer expectations for seamless, customized shopping journeys, despite challenges in building trust around data security. Companies like CASETFY and McDonald's Hong Kong exemplify this shift, using AI for content moderation, product search, and internal process automation, highlighting a broader trend of digital transformation that blends technological innovation with a focus on security and customer engagement. Finally, the South China Morning Post reports on Hong Kong's ranking in the new global index measuring journalist safety, placing 37th out of 73 jurisdictions. While the city scores well in physical safety, outperforming countries like South Korea and the US, it faces significant challenges in psychological and digital safety. The report notes that recent political developments, including the use of subversion laws and high-profile prosecutions of media outlets, have contributed to a decline in mental well-being and digital security concerns among journalists. Experts suggest that the low score in psychological safety reflects ongoing pressures and harassment, while the digital safety ranking points to fears of surveillance and hacking. Despite this, Hong Kong's relatively high physical safety score indicates fewer violent incidents against reporters since 1997, though the overall picture underscores the complex environment for journalism amid evolving political and social dynamics. South China Morning Post reports a tragic incident at a Hong Kong construction site where a 62-year-old scaffolder, despite wearing a safety harness, fell from the 5th floor and lost his life. The worker, with over 3 decades of experience, was in the process of installing a nylon net on the building's exterior when the accident occurred. Emergency services responded swiftly, but he was pronounced dead at North District Hospital. Investigations are underway, focusing on safety measures and potential hazards that could have contributed to this fatal fall, raising concerns about construction site safety protocols in the city. The same source details Hong Kong's strategic decision to postpone a significant U.S. trip by local political and business leaders amid escalating U.S.-China tensions. Regina Ip Lau Suki, a key figure in Hong Kong's government, explained that the delay was to prevent misunderstandings during a period of heightened geopolitical sensitivity. The planned Global Prosperity Summit, scheduled for May, will now feature prominent international participants, including former U.S. consuls and Chinese diplomats, emphasizing Hong Kong's role as a bridge between China and the world. The summit aims to foster dialogue on pressing issues like AI, climate change, and trade, reinforcing Hong Kong's position as an international hub amid ongoing diplomatic challenges. South China Morning Post also discusses doubts surrounding Hong Kong's proposed Hung Hom Yacht Bay development, with harborfront advisors expressing skepticism about its feasibility. Concerns focus on the area's aging infrastructure and whether it's suitable for a world-class marina accommodating up to 200 yachts. Critics questioned the choice of Hung Hom as the location, suggesting alternatives like Kai Tak or Yau Tong, which might better serve the city's maritime ambitions. They also highlighted the need for infrastructure upgrades, including transport and commercial revitalization, before embarking on such a large-scale project. The government plans to start construction around 2029, with costs estimated between 10 billion Hong Kong dollars and 20 billion Hong Kong dollars, but ongoing debates reflect uncertainties about the project's long-term viability and strategic value. Al Jazeera vividly recounts the story of the Piparwa gems, a breathtaking collection of ancient Indian relics believed to contain cremated remains of the Buddha, dating back to the Mauryan Empire around 240 to 200 BC. These treasures, adorned with pearls, rubies, sapphires, and gold, were originally buried in a stupa in modern-day Uttar Pradesh. In 1898, British colonial landowner William Pepe excavated them, and most were eventually housed in Kolkata's Indian Museum. Recently, Sotheby's in Hong Kong announced an auction of the gems, with a valuation of $13 million, igniting fierce opposition from India. The government contends that these relics are sacred, inalienable cultural and religious heritage, and should be returned to India for veneration rather than sold as commodities. They argue that Pepe's family had no rightful authority to auction the relics, which are believed to contain Buddha's cremated remains, and emphasize the colonial injustices associated with their acquisition. India's Ministry of Culture has issued a legal notice, condemning Sotheby's and Pepe's heirs, demanding the relics' repatriation, and threatening legal action if the sale proceeds. The controversy highlights ongoing debates about cultural restitution, colonial legacies, and the ethical responsibilities of auction houses in handling artifacts of profound spiritual significance, with the relics representing a shared Buddhist heritage that transcends national borders. The South China Morning Post reports on the U.S. House of Representatives' recent legislative actions aimed at China, reflecting a broader geopolitical tension. The House passed multiple bills targeting issues such as economic espionage, export controls, national security threats, and human rights abuses, signaling a toughening stance on Beijing. Meanwhile, China is innovating within its circular economy, with a focus on recycling critical materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel from used electric vehicle batteries, thereby bolstering resource security amid ongoing U.S. trade tensions. The report also highlights environmental challenges, such as the impact of migratory pests exacerbated by El Niño, which threaten rice yields in southern China, revealing the complex interplay between climate and food security. Additionally, China's tourism sector shows signs of recovery, with domestic travel returning to pre-pandemic levels during Labor Day, although spending per traveler remains stagnant. In technological advancements, researchers have unveiled the world's smallest wireless morphing robots capable of transforming their shape to traverse land and air, showcasing China's strides in robotics innovation. The report concludes with social insights, noting that the economic slowdown and anti-corruption efforts have made government positions more attractive to the children of senior officials, while incidents like a bus stop accident in Shandong underscore ongoing safety concerns. Together, these stories depict a nation navigating economic, environmental, technological, and social challenges amidst its rapid development and geopolitical tensions. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.